Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at queuing algorithms. We'll be discussing quality of service algorithms, queuing overview, first in, first out, weighted fair queuing, class-based weighted fair queuing, and finally we'll look at low latency queuing. This episode is part of my series on enterprise networking, security, and automation for the CCNA. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. Quality of service is a policy that's implemented by you, the network administrator. It becomes active when there's congestion on a link. Ethernet to your switches, your WAN link to your ISP, maybe it's the connection between two of your buildings. When there's congestion, quality of service will step in and help prioritize your traffic. Now, congestion management tools, they can do several things. They can buffer data, meaning they can store up data until that congestion clears out and then sends it out. They can prioritize it. High priority, medium priority, low priority. Voice and video get a high priority. Normal web pages, static web pages, those get a low priority. And we can also reorder the priorities, the data, if needed. And there are about 4 types of queuing algorithms we see out there in our networks. First one is the first in, first out method of queuing. Next one is the weighted fair queuing. Third one is the class-based weighted fair queuing. And then finally, the low latency queuing. First in, first out, or a lot of people call it FIFA queuing. Basically, there's no QoS here. There's no quality of service. The first packet in the router is the first packet to get routed through the router and sent out the interface. So we can see here that the gray packet, packet number 1, goes through our router. So we have our router here. This router is running FIFO, first in, first out, and the first packet out here is this gray packet number 1. The second piece of information here is the blue 2. Blue 2 is out next. The green 3, and the purple 4. So the first piece of data in your device is the first piece of data out of your device. The second method we have is the weighted fair queuing method. What this does is it looks at your class and it gives it the class of the data, meaning is this voice, is it video, is it financial, is it static web page, and it gives it a priority. And so here we have the priority classification right here, and high would be your voice or video. Medium would be your financial. Normal would be standard traffic, and low would be static web pages. Or some people would say non-essential business web pages. You would throw Facebook into here. Then when your data comes in, notice the order of the data when it comes in. We got brown, then blue, then yellow, then green. What it does is when it goes into your router here, it gets classified, it gets identified. Once it's identified, it gets put into a queuing buffer. And if it's high priority, we're always going to take the high priority. As long as there's stuff in it, we're going to take high priority. That'll come out first. When there's nothing in the high priority, then we take the medium. When the high and the medium are empty, then we take the normal. And then when the high, medium, and normal are empty, we take the low out. And if we see the data going out, our egress phase, or our egress interface, we can see that this was the high priority here. That came out first, then our medium priority. Then the normal, then the low came out. The third method is class-based weighted fair queuing. When data comes in here, it comes in a random order. That random order, first thing is it's grouped into user-defined classes. So you define what's important to you to get through. Once again, voice and video are probably the most important. Web pages are probably the least. Maybe you have a couple other things in the middle there. So you figure out where your data goes and you give it a class. Class 1, Class 2, Class 3. So right here are different classes. Then we use a weighted fair queuing system. What that is it looks and sees, okay, we have a lot of Class 1 here. We're going to try and make sure that that's through because this is our high priority queue. Then we're going to look at our medium queue. Well, we're not going to completely stop it if there's a lot of high, but we'll push out some medium. And low, we're going to push out some occasionally just to make sure that traffic's getting through. But this line could get longer and longer down here for our Class 3, our low priority. And so that's where the weighted fair queue comes in. And see, when the data comes out here, we have our Class 1, our Class 2, and then our 2 Class 4s. It's been rearranged for us as it leaves our router. And finally, we have low latency queuing. This is a combination of multiple queue systems. And what this is we have a priority queue. We give that priority queue the VIP treatment. You're the first to the line. We're going to make sure you get through our device as fast as possible. Nothing else will be able to go in front of you. Then we have a class-based weighted fair queue system after that. When we see our data here, our data is coming in just all sorts of a random order. You can see that down here. Up here, we can see that we have a priority for our voice. So we take all of our voice packets, send it up here to the priority queue. Then we go into this class-based weighted fair queuing system where you set up the classes to prioritize traffic what you want. You've already taken all the voice out. Maybe now this is video here. Then Class 2 is our financials, and then 3 is our web traffic. So all voice gets pushed through first. If we look at the data coming out, we can see here that the voice made it out first. When all the traffic is emptied out of the priority queue, when the priority queue is emptied, then we look at our weighted fair queuing system. And then we process our classes and push the data out. When we see the data that went out our egress port, voice was first. Then we see the class-based weighted fair queuing data. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on queuing algorithms. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com. There you can find out how to get all these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on enterprise networking, security, and automation for the CCNA. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I linked just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on enterprise networking, security, and automation for the CCNA. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.